Do you guys feel like you know the laws of Maryland when it comes to child sexual abuse?
Not really.
No.
Mm-mm.
Do you know any statistics or anything about it? So
Nope.
this is going to be brand new for you.
It is.
I hope.
I
know
hope I
the
do
laws
have
are.
an idea.
We'll see.
I feel like I'm not all the way up to date.
I should know. I should know.
Yeah,
I should
this
know.
is.
Do you think you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at all, matter of fact.
No.
It says 1 in 7 girls and 1 in 25 boys under 18 experience sexual abuse.
Shock.
That's crazy.
There are currently 6,557 registered sex offenders living in Maryland. More than a third of those involve crimes with children.
Wow.
It's pretty high.
So like they could be in your neighborhood and you wouldn't even.
They could be your next door neighbor.
6,557.
Registered. So that's registered. Can you imagine unregistered as well? Registered.
Are there really 6,557?
Registered sex offenders, yes, in Maryland.
Okay. I think it was more. I thought it was more. But okay.
Okay, yeah, you messed it up already.
Children that are abused are 4 times more likely to become drug abusers, which I didn't know.
No. I mean, it's not surprising.
There's a lot more than we probably know about. Well, there definitely are because not every case is reported either. So it's like, and the fact that these people half the time for drugs get put into jail and like prison, and it's like you don't even know where it's coming from or like what the history is with these people.
I don't think it's only drug abusers. I think it's more of, I don't know. I feel like they don't heal completely, to be honest.
Children that are abused are 4 times more likely to have PTSD as adults.
Wow.
Okay?
I know that. I thought that was more for people with, different traumas. I didn't know that, they were likely to have PTSD as adults.
Children that are abused are 3 times more likely to have depressive episodes as adults.
No, I mean, I can see that, after everything that they've been through.
I guess that makes sense because trauma carries through the childhood into adulthood.
Well, and the problem about like abuse and trauma, that it does affect you for the rest of your life. And I think as adults, it is our responsibility to protect children. That is our responsibility.
The lifetime burden cost of sexual abuse per victim is $210,012.
The lifetime burden cost of
So like the burden cost.
Loss of wages because of their depression, therapy, drug abuse, all these things. This is how much it costs them.
So now they're paying for therapy. That's
Something that they had no control
wow,
over.
That's so
This is like, it's a setup to lose-lose situation.
Really? That's a lot of money.
And I think it should be covered by the government.
In this case, my thought is that there should be some type of program, so like a budget for this type of cases. I mean, because that's a lot of money, especially nowadays. I mean, $310,000, I mean, that's a lot.
Even though the financial burden lasts a lifetime, there is currently a statute of limitation on suing in civil court for the abuse. Any comment on this one? I don't
Well,
know.
who you're protecting at this point, because if you're a child victim of abuse, at what age are you able to bring that to light, or even process it to bring it to light?
What?
It's
Don't
a-
make me get
a
mad.
statute.
Don't make me get
Do you know
mad.
how long? What the amount of time the fragment of time is?
I think there should be for something like that. I mean, that's something that is gonna last you a lifetime. There should be a limitation on it. I mean, you're gonna live with that forever. That's crazy.
70% of child sex offenders have between 1 and 9 victims.
And there's how many registered? Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not going outside.
Yeah, no.
No.
Corona's like one of the least likely things to come get me.
I mean, I don't know how to react to that. I mean, that's just wrong.
That's a very high number.
That's horrible. I mean, so I wonder if that means we're not identifying them, or we're not charging them, or what's happening.
Do you feel like they're not publicizing the offenders enough to?
Unfortunately, I think a lot of it is the legal system. I think the legal system is geared to help protect people who have the most money.
20% of child sex offenders have between 10 and 40 victims. Like, how do you jump from 10 to 40? Like, where, why didn't...
And then these people grow up and they have PTSD and
Yeah.
they abuse drugs and they're
Afford
paying
it
all this
for
money
the percentage
for
of the population
therapy,
of
and
people that
they're
are-
just set up to lose.
Only 12% of child sexual abuse is ever reported to authorities. That's extremely low.
If you are the victim of abuse, a lot of times telling someone, it has to be a frightening thing, because you could be afraid that someone is now going to hold you accountable, or want to know how you're responsible for this.
Because their abusers told them that they're gonna hurt their families, or it's a secret between us two. And as me as a mother, that's one of the things that I'm more scared of someone abusing my child.
Child sex offenders usually have most of their sentencing suspended and are placed on probation for only 5 years.
5 years. So you're telling me you're gonna put me through months or years of abuse, and you only get
And then Sloppy Joe gets out in 5
Probation.
If you get a
years.
Of
drug
5
charge,
years.
if you get a drug charge, you can get probation for longer than that.
So you're telling me
that is actually true.
That's
Manny,
actually
the
crazy.
marijuana dealer, is getting more time than Charles, the
Manny.
child sex offender?
I can't believe that.
I don't know what makes an abuser an abuser. I don't know, what makes people prey on people that are helpless. I don't know what makes them do that. So I don't know if it's solvable or not, but I would think that, you'd have to, before you'd let anybody out, that you would have to make sure that they met some criteria of rehabilitation or something, and still keep them under a tight, watchful eye.
Perpetrators oftentimes know the victims,
Family members,
friends.
friends.
No one's safe.
Only 7% are strangers.
Well,
You can't trust nobody.
You can't trust Mama, Dodo, Lolo, all.
I can't believe that only 7%.
7%.
59% are acquaintances.
It's,
Any comment?
well, it's hard for me to still wrap my mind around it,
And
34% are family members.
The trust issue comes in because if you're sexually abused by a family member, you gotta have put on that guard around you all the time when you're new family members, because you don't have the complete trust of who's not gonna abuse you, who's gonna abuse you.
There is no real support for families who want to prosecute the abuser, especially if the abuser was the financial provider of the household. That's Anyway, this leaves families with the financial burden, which can force them to choose between concentrating on the child or the prosecution, which is absolutely true. Because if you can't afford to go against the person that's paying your bills, then what's the point of even...
You're screwed.
People literally will sit there and just be like, no, be quiet. Like, it's okay. That is so... Anyway. Oh my gosh. I'm just...
I don't like this.
It got hot in here. I finally found the heat.
So it's got to be tough, because we don't take care of victims very well.
Mhm.
We don't address issues that the victims go through. Whether that victim, honestly, if that victim's a child or an adult even, we're not really good at taking care of the victims. And I could see in a situation, if you were an abused child, or if you were an abused spouse, and you knew that if I stood up in court, went through the motions, whatever, one, it could be financially damaging. Two, it means I may have nowhere to live. I think a lot of times people try to measure an experience like this from their own, from their own life scenario.
So tier 3 registered child sex offenders are allowed to be alone with children. They can even sleep alone in the same bed with a child.
But I thought it was when they are registered as child sex offenders, they're not allowed to be in the same room where there are kids. So they can still be around kids.
So I mean, the worst of the worst can still be around a child. That's crazy.
I can wrap my mind around this statement.
No. Well, it's the problem is legislation again. And so what you have to do is figure out who is making or not making legislation and figure out why aren't they making this legislation.
I guess my question to those who deny this legislation, how would you feel if this sex offender sleeps with your child?
The FBI has reported that 750,000 pedophiles are connected to the internet at all times.
I believe it.
Is doing about this? If they're aware of that number, what's their next step? It should be something. It shouldn't be like, well, we're aware of this. Okay, then what's your next step?
So it's not illegal for registered child sex offenders to use social media accounts to contact minors.
But if I
Not
post something
illegal.
on TikTok with a curse word, it gets taken down.
Highlight
Yeah.
not illegal. That's really crazy.
So it's not okay. So these people, we know that they rape children, we know that they molest children, and we know it for a fact. But we still allow them to be around minors,
Social
and
media
be on
accounts,
social media to
contact
contact minors. So where's the real safety? Because it sounds to me like you're slapping them on the wrist and then letting them do it again.
You're like, don't do it again.
Anyone is allowed to film and take pictures of your children in public places. This includes registered sex offenders who were convicted of possessing or distributing child porn or convicted of trafficking.
Is this national or state by state? Or
This is all, I just did Maryland.
I'm still trying to figure out why it says allowed. Who's allowing this? Because if it's my kids and you're taking videos and pictures of them without my consent, then
No,
it
and-
allows me to.
It's not just everybody. Well, I mean, actually, technically, it is everybody because they're literally saying, yeah, y'all too. Like the registered sex offenders. You see registered?
All I'm saying,
They're registered.
I don't care.
In
what
the,
about
where,
the
in
laser?
the,
Where
in
it
the
says
big
it's
book
allowed,
of sex
it's not.
offenders, they're like written in there. And then it's like, no.
If you're allowed to record
Take a
my children,
picture.
I'm
I
allowed
really
to
don't know what to say.
wreck
This is just
your life.
disgusting.
A registered offender can live with a child's walking distance to school. Here in Maryland.
Here in Maryland.
Oh wow!
Technically,
So
I think
y'all
they
go
think
all
it's
the way
okay
to
here.
walking to
They
school.
think it's
They
okay
can live
because
there.
they can't be around the school. I think that.
Oh, but they can live near it?
sidewalks are
Oh,
just
okay,
safe.
but we can.
next door.
That is.
They can.
Oh, so we can live in the school zone. You just, if I'm trying to walk to the mailbox, I gotta move a little bit this way so I'm not. Get out of here.
I mean, if you were like a convicted bank robber, should you live upstairs to a bank? Probably not. I mean, you should. I would think that would be, when it comes to legislation, that would seem like pretty common sense. Okay, this is what your crime has been. Why don't we avoid putting you somewhere where other people can be victims of your crime?
It is not illegal for registered child sex offenders to go to child-oriented facilities like Chuck E. Cheese,
So you're telling me that at this point, like, if you do
Cat Chair.
yeah, like if you
the
do the
rolling
crime and you
places.
get out, you could still go to Chuck E. Cheese or like
So then-
David
okay,
Buster's,
wait. So here's the
where a
million
bunch
dollar
of
question.
children are.
What is the point of a registered sex offender
Offender.
then? To have their name
Because
down
not
in the
many
book?
people look it up who's around them.
No. It makes no sense.
Oh, so
because
I
they
can know
still do
you're a sex
everything else.
offender, but not do anything about it.
They can still go to Chuck E. Cheese. They can still live next door to a school. They can still
Sleep
take
in the same
pictures.
bed as a child. They
Take
can still
pictures.
contact minors on social media. So where's the punishment?
There's not.
There's not.
just a big
They get
book of
18 months
sex
of
offenders.
Oh,
or
okay.
5
For
years.
raping a child, because if it was your child, I bet you really care.
And that's for registered child sex offenders. Maybe they should carry a mark in their forehead saying that that's what they are, so that way they're not allowed to be in certain places.
And that makes you, protect your kids when you go to work because you don't feel safe nowhere.
I think reading this makes me a lot more cautious.
It is not against the law for a caregiver to leave your child along with a registered child sex offender.
Because it almost seems like aiding and abetting. You know,
Accomplice.
I mean, isn't that what that is? I mean, technically, you know.
And then it's not against the
It's
law
not
for me to
against-
fit my fist to meet your face because that's ridiculous.
That is actually really the.
That's the dumbest
Ever
thing.
heard.
You're literally like you're planning out their next attack. Like
What is the age of consent in Maryland?
I hope it's 30.
Sometimes 30 is not old enough, you know,
Yeah.
for some folks, honestly.
I hope it's 30.
no, this is
16.
18, isn't it?
Yeah. Or
16 years old. Really?
what? I thought it was 18.
But I really, truly, I can't imagine why we would think that would be okay for a 16-year-old, someone who is probably not emancipated, somebody who's living under, you know, a parent's protection, that we would allow them to be in a situation that could potentially have
Damage.
life-altering situation.
Is that a 40-year-old man can legally have intercourse with your 16-year-old child? Wow.
oh. Then I can legally hurt you really, really bad without any remorse.
No, none. 40-year-old man.
16.
Well, there are so many great. I've read. There are so many great places to hide a body. So, not that I would ever condone that at all, but I've heard that there's in Maryland alone. There's so many great places.
This means a 40-year-old can legally.
That's disgusting.
What is the youngest a person can get married?
Has to be like 18.
No.
Has to be.
Knowing
Has
well,
to be.
16
The way this
is
is
the
going-
age of consent.
Married?
So I'm gonna say
I'm gonna say
16.
15.
Has to
I'm
be
gonna say
18.
14.
15.
Oh
If my mom let me marry the guy I said I was in love with
At 15? Oh,
I would not be wearing him
Lanta.
today. I can tell you that right now.
When you.
I would say I would still
18.
think 18 because
Yeah.
you know you're.
18. No, this is true.
It's like somebody wrote laws down and put it in a barrel, and people just reached in and pulled it out. I mean, like where's the common sense? You know.
My
15-year-olds
anxiety.
cannot drive a car, sign a lease, apply for a credit card, and aren't old enough to work at most places.
But
Like
they
nowhere.
Can marry
Like
a
literally,
grown-ass
actually
man.
nowhere. Literally nowhere. They almost,
Or a woman.
Woman, you're right.
they almost can't work actually anywhere.
Wow.
Not drive a car, sign a lease, apply for a credit, aren't old enough to work at most places.
But yet,
You
they
can get married.
It's a shame. You know, I think if you can't vote, maybe marriages also should be very similar to voting. You should probably wait until you're a little bit older. You know.
Is that?
So there's literally like no laws protecting children.
no 0. No, there's more laws protecting the sex offenders.
Yeah, there's more laws
than
protecting the sex
children. That
offenders than
is
the
so
kids.
crazy.
So,
Did you guys learn anything?
yes, I
Everything.
heard
This
that this
world is a
everything.
piece of crap.
Yeah.
no, I can't believe it. I'm
So
not
our
having kids.
children, yeah.
We're just not
For
having
their own
kids.
safety, like
For the safety of everything. we're not
honestly,
having
I feel really set up. Like I feel like whoever made
Who's-
these laws or
who's
said these were
protecting
okay
us?
is really corrupted in that.
Also, another.
So what do you think about that? That was the last one. What do you guys think about the laws of Maryland now?
Maybe they need to be.
It sucks.
Well, maybe they need to be redone. You know, that's what I think.
So did you guys learn anything new?
Well,
Yes.
the whole way through.
I'm gonna have a nightmare today.
Understandable.
Yeah.